All right, Lone Wolf Customs, video 4. Yeah, the rear end's kind of started to be in there. It's technically sitting on the rear end right now, but the mounts are right there that I cut off. You can see where the weld was, and how they got to go out. Weld was, have to go out. This cable's not actually tight, but I used the winch to pick this thing up, and I still had to put all that weight on that damn thing to hold that end down to pick this end up to roll the rear end underneath it. It's only one slight issue, and that's because the tire slightly hitting. That's hitting. I'm not saying slightly, it's hitting. That's because the Ford mounts kick out further than the Dodge mounts did. The Dodge mounts were tighter into the frame. These kick out further. So I have to come up with a way of fixing that. But no big deal. But there's the rear end. And that kind of gives you an idea where this thing's going to sit in the air. And where the rear end's going to be. You know, tire-wise. And so on, so on. Kind of got a snubby look to it right now. You know, it would be nice if the rear end was a little closer to the rear, but unfortunately, there's leaf springs in the way. But no big deal. Yeah, about all I've accomplished. Got the mounts cut, got them ground smoothish. I gotta grind those still. Got the rear end in. Well, sort of in. You know, those mounts will position it better. And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about getting the ass of this thing slightly in further. You know, I could fool with cutting these brackets and just weld them in solid. They're going to get welded in solid anyways. Literally, if I could take up that much of a gap, just that much right there, just bringing that in would make a huge difference on clearing. I don't need a lot of clearance, I just need a little clearance. Of course, the rear end actually may not be in there square right now. It may be kind of kicked because, you know, it ain't positioned to the bolt hole, which man, yeah, that one's off definitely. So it's actually kicked, so that's going to cause some misalignments anyways. But it's not attached. I got plenty of playroom to freaking screw around with shit. And if it comes down to it, I could either go to a narrower tire on the inside, you know, same outside diameter but narrower, or even go as far as maybe even spacing the wheels out, which really don't seem like the greatest idea considering this thing's going to be holding the weight of another vehicle on the ass of it. But either one's a possibility. I'll just have to see which one seems to fit the bill the best. But yeah, been doing some thinking. This 8-inch is actually the right width for the winch. I was thinking about using it down here instead of up here. Get something different from right there. Because that's 8 inches. This is only 6. So, you know, it's 2 inches that I have to deal with somewheres in the mixture of that thing. So, thought about just cutting this down where it would fit right in between here. Suck it in. This line and this is almost the same height, and basically suck this in that away, which gives me a little more room out here for the boom swing, because, you know, I've literally got an area from here to there to fit the boom attachment, the winch, and all this shit. And, you know, for the boom to go up and down, you know, that's going to get in the way at a certain, if it's too far this way, less if it's back here further. So, but we're figuring, we're playing, we'll get it, because it ain't a matter of money, it's a matter of figuring out how to put parts together, and that ain't too difficult, especially when you're making the parts however the hell you want them to be. On the overload spring aspect, I really don't like those. Somebody's cobbled those damn things together. They're not even, right. They're not strapped. They're not bolted. I have thought, since I got the parts truck and I got this thing I'm cutting up anyways, about possibly using the springs off of it. I'll have to measure them to make sure I actually can, because of the U-bolts I just bought, which cost me $60 fucking for freaking 4 U-bolts, because I cut the ones I had, which, they had to be cut. But if those aren't too bad, I can cut off the excess, sit them where they need to be, and put those in the pack. The longest I could get was 13 inches. If I could have used 12 inches, then I could have saved myself a lot of money, because literally they would have been half. I could have got all 4 of them for like $30. But I had to, a minimum length was 13. And that's with those spring pack. So the minimum was 13. So I got them for 13. And hopefully I can work with that. Of course, with 13, I can't use the Ford shock mounts because they hang down longer. Yeah, see, they still fully stuck in there. They're rusted to the darn cast. But I wouldn't be able to use the shock mount, which was fine, because technically I couldn't use the shock mount anyways, because there ain't no place for the Ford style shock to work on a Dodge, because they're completely opposite from each other. So I'll have to put shock mounts, which is no big deal. But yeah, but they are heavy duty enough. They're made for like big dualies and shit like that. In the box with the bolts and all. But that was a shitty ass fucking thing. I really didn't want to have to pay that much for it. But here's your update. There's a rear end on the frame-ish, sort of, kind of, in a way. Yeah. Okay, bye. P.S. I forgot to show you. Those are bolted in now. Cleaned up the holes, grade 8 bolts, lock, nuts, and they're going to be welded in. Done on both sides. Okay, bye.